we're going to start with the review on place value so that we know and can identify which digit is in each place, and we can name the place that a digit is in. Okay, so first we're going to go to whole numbers, and whole numbers are the numbers before the decimal or to the left of the decimal. So I started it with ones. So these are whole numbers. So this is something we've been working with since, oh goodness, I don't even know when you learned this in or elementary school. But it goes ones, tens, hundreds. And those are typically something that sixth graders remember, typically. Okay. But then things start to get a little bit more confusing. And so then it goes thousands. And now we repeat the pattern and we say 10,000, just to make sure I have room for all of it. And then after 10,000s would be 100,000s. And then we go to millions, and then the pattern repeats 10 millions, 100 millions. Then we go billions, and then the pattern goes again 10 billions, 100 billions. Then trillions, and then 10 trillions, 100 trillions. I usually don't work with trillions, so sometimes it's hard for me to say the word. Then when we are talking about place value, this decimal, we say and. Okay. Now we're going to go to the right of the decimal or after the decimal, and those are parts of numbers. So I don't want to call them decimals because we can write them as fractions as well, although we'll be focusing on decimals here. But they're parts of numbers. So it's not a whole number, it's a part of a number. So this first one after the decimal is the one that most people get confused on. Okay. Because there's an obvious pattern that happens after as we move on. Okay, so this first one is tenths. And we'll talk about the pattern in a little bit. But then tenths, remember that THS, it's always hard for me to say. I feel like I'm spitting. Then hundredths. Hundredths. And then thousandths. Remember, THS, anything that has THS is a decimal number. It's a part of a number. It goes after the decimal. Okay, so here's this pattern that I was talking about. We have tens and tenths. We have hundreds and hundredths. And we have thousands and thousandths. So the confusion comes in is because there's no oneths. There's nothing called oneths. So I like to kind of think of that as these two are together. And so the ones and the and are together. And then we can start thinking about our pattern of tens and tenths, hundreds and hundredths, and then thousands and thousandths. So making sure we understand the name of each place and the value that it holds being in that place. So now let's go on to identifying the number in each place value. Okay. So this first part says, circle or underline the digit in the tenths place. So if we think about this, tenths with THS means it's going to be after the decimal, so it's going to be none of these numbers. Then I have to think, okay, is the tenths the first, second, or third one after the decimal? And the tenths is the first one. So I'm actually going to circle this so you can see it a little bit better. So the tenths is the first one after our decimal. Okay. And now this next one says circle or underline the digit in the tens place. So tens, there's no THS here, so it's not going to be a decimal. So it's going to be before. So we have the ones, and then the tens is this 2. Okay. Now it says what place value is the 8 in. So we have to identify the 8 in each of these numbers. So the 8's right here, and then the 8's here. Okay, so it's just good to identify the 8. So the 8 is after the decimal, so I know it's going to end in THS. Okay, so we started the decimal, we're 2 digits after the decimal, and so it goes tenths, hundredths. So that 8 is in the hundredths place. Hundredths place. THS. Okay, so now in the second one, 438 and 591 thousandths. That 8 is before the decimal, so it does not end in THS. And that 8 is that first one before the decimal, which would be the ones place. If we think about money, and you had $438, which, well, that would be nice, right? You would get 4 $100 bills, 3 $10 bills, and 8 $1 bills. I mean, you might not get it exactly like that, but for the purpose of this example, 8 $1 bills, so this is in the ones place. When we work with decimals, I love thinking about it in terms of money for most things because it's easy for us to understand that because it's something we use or will use in our everyday lives. So what you are going to do now is you're going to have 2 slides where you are going to identify the number in each place value. So if you look here, it gives you the place value that you're going to circle or underline. Then in the next slide, you are going to identify the place value for the 7. So you're going to find the 7 in each number and identify which place value it's in.